So I've just seen the new Sony film Kraven the Hunter, directed by J.C. Shander, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ariana DeBose, and Russell Crowe. And it was dog shit. So Kraven the Hunter is a character from the Marvel comic books. I believe he is mostly known for being a Spider Man villain. However, this is not a Marvel Studios film. This Kraven the Hunter does not exist in the MCU. This movie was made by Sony. Now, in recent years, Sony has become an absolute all-star in terms of just releasing dog shit after dog shit after dog shit. And yes, this one is no different. Now, I'm not too educated on the copyright laws going on between Sony and Marvel Studios, but it's to my understanding that Marvel Studios has the rights of the Spider-Man character, while Sony has the rights to a lot of the Spider-Man villains. Which would explain why they've been pumping out a lot of these Spider-Man antagonist side character films recently, trying to milk with whatever they have in an attempt to build a multiverse that can somehow rival the MCU. And they're failing worse than the DCEU, which is embarrassing to say the least. And this may sound a bit cynical, but in a roundabout way, I am happy that this movie is bombing. Not just critically, because obviously it's very easy to pick these soulless, pathetic excuses for movies apart, but also the box office. This movie is tanking, it's making nobody fucking money, which is a good thing. There is not a better way as a society for us to tell these film companies, these executive producers, we are done with this type of schlock. You are no longer allowed to pump out comic book movie bullshit with no effort put into it expecting a paycheck, because you will lose money. And they can't have that because that is the sole reason why they're making these creatively bankrupt movies in the first place. Not because they have a story to tell, not because they have a unique vision that they want to show the world. They just want an easy paycheck, expecting mainstream audiences to go, oh, superhero movie, I like that. I should probably cut that part out. Now, for a long time, I won't lie, we as a society, we've been kind of like that. We've been just consuming these comic book movies, even when they're objectively bad, and just, oh wow, let me see the next one. But 2024 has been a legitimate wake-up call, I feel like, for everybody. You have to do something more than just the standard superhero origin story where the good guy puts on a costume and beats up the bad guy and saves the day. There has to be something more than that. Now, this is a movie review, but it's hard to review this movie because this doesn't feel like a real movie. It feels plastic. It feels Tupperware. Nothing happens. Think of any basic superhero origin story, any of them. Just think about it right now. Have it be rated R, so you can say boo-boo words and have some blood in it. And you have Kraven the Hunter. Just make the quality of it even more dog shit than expected to be. The story has to be incredibly boring. The fight scenes also have to be incredibly boring. Have the writing be bad, have the acting be bad. Let's talk about the acting. I am a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson. I do think he is one of the most underrated, talented actors in his generation. That being said, he does something in this movie that a couple of the lead actors do, and it's so distracting. Their accent. Their voices were so inconsistent. Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't let it slip that he is British. Like, he didn't sound British throughout the movie, but his American accent couldn't stick to one type of tone or cadence. It sort of just bounced around. It seemed like he couldn't pick what he wanted to sound like. He just knew he couldn't sound British. He would shift frequently in between lines, and it's so jarring. I'm like, wait, dude, you didn't sound like that literally 5 seconds ago. It very much reminded me of Bill Skarsgård's performance in The Crow. That was also my biggest pet peeve with him in that movie. Which, side note, just noticed this, I am a fan of both of these actors, and they have recently just put on what I would consider their worst performances in their career. They're both starring in the new Robert Eggers film, Nosferatu, coming out, I believe, in like 2 weeks. Which, if you're unaware, Robert Eggers is a literal film god, so now that we have talent working with talent, hopefully these boys can put up, Ilya Taporia numbers. But yes, besides the inconsistent voice accent, Aaron Taylor Johnson acting range, he wasn't really given a whole lot to do in this film. None of the cast was, really. Don't get me started on the guy who played the Rhino. His acting was honestly so bad it was funny. So shout out him because he saved the movie at times. Because the 99% of this movie being boring, that 1% was him just doing some of the most baffling line reads, facial expressions I've seen in a while. Russell Crowe is probably the most consistent in terms of acting, which makes sense because at this point, he's a veteran. But every actor in this movie had at least 2 horribly cringe-filled line deliveries. And I'm pretty sure the bad writing plays a big part in that. All the dialogue is just so unaware of how cliche it is There's no real human conversation or connection. It's literally just exposition. And that's why I say this movie feels plastic. It doesn't feel real. None of the characters or the motivations or the relationships feel real. Super bland, unimaginative story that starts off incredibly slow. I kid you not, there's a 30-minute intro flashback sequence. It still somehow, with all that time, fails in establishing anything in terms of us being emotionally invested into the characters, any good character writing. Nothing happens in those 30 minutes. It could have been a 5-minute scene. None of them are interesting. We don't give a shit about any of them. It's just so poorly piss-made writing. It's everything we've seen already, just somehow even more subpar to the mediocrity we're already accustomed to when dealing with this comic book genre. Terrible CGI. The jumping that Kraven does in this movie looks like it came out of a fucking PlayStation 3 game. The Rhino, the final look, revolting. And the thing is, I usually hate when comic book movies sort of cuck out and replace all the fantastical elements with boring ass machinery. Like the Falcon character, his wings are now mechanical robot wings, or same thing with the Vulture. It's like you're a comic book movie. You're already unrealistic. At least keep it interesting. Keep the character designs interesting. So when I was watching this movie and they didn't give the Rhino some dull ass Iron Man like suit just looking like a rhino, I was thinking, oh shit, this is cool. No, he needed one. This is the only time I'll ever advocate for replacing the fantastical elements with machinery, with robot suits, because the Rhino monster in this movie looked terrible. Not just the CGI on the Rhino, really all the VFX in this movie was just so unimaginably weak. All the blood splatters looked terrible. In general, the action was really boring and uninteresting to look at, which is so unfortunate because this is a comic book movie based off of a hunter themed character. It could have been such a fun, unique idea of a movie if they just focused more on the hunting aspect of this character. Imagine if we got like a John Wick type character with the IQ of Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. They show off his skill set, or at least show Kraven setting up some interesting, fun, complex traps. Show us why he's considered the most dangerous hunter in the world. Put an emphasis on his hunting skills and make this an action-packed sort of cat and mouse movie like Die Hard. We could have gotten some creative, unique, violent action scenes, but no, we got none of that. We got essentially Wolverine, but instead of claws, he uses a knife. They'll settle with the bare minimum, which is Kraven the Hunter jumping around from buildings, using a blowgun in one scene, and at the very end of the movie, use 3 traps, and they're all used back to back to back in the matter of a minute. You don't see the setup, you don't see the plan, you just see some dipshit goons walk into these traps, die, and that's it. That's Kraven the Hunter. Just another boring ass, dull comic book movie, except this time there's some blood in it. Ugly looking movie with a bland story, stupid writing, the acting ranges from decent at best to laughable, cliche throughout, especially the ending, and overall just a worthless experience. I'm giving Kraven the Hunter a 1 out of 10. Dog shit movie. Don't see it, waste of time, forgettable. Because this movie is so forgettable, I don't have any similar recommendations. I don't even know where to start. It's just a bad movie. You don't want to watch a movie that's similar to this in any way. You want to watch a good action movie? Okay, hold on. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh. There you go. There's your similar. These are good movies right here. John Wick. John Wick trilogy. Good action movie. Alright, that does it for my review. I'll be doing a roundup on a couple of movies I've seen within the last month. I'm going to be doing a big roundup because I want to start watching all these other 2024 movies I missed, just so I could make a top 10 best movies of 2024 before the end of the year. Also, real quick, I just want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed. The goal is to hit 250 by the end of this year, and as of right now, we're damn near 500. I really want this channel to keep growing. It really does mean the world to me. Alright, that does it for my video. Again, thank you to everybody who watched, and I'll see you at the next one.